People living in small towns, what's the recent scandal? A few days ago, Amber Alert sent out an emergency message about a fellow in a green car who had stabbed his girlfriend and stolen their baby out of San Jose, which is 3 hours north of us. Lo and behold, the guy was caught right at our own downtown gas station when the kidnapper accidentally locked the baby and his keys in his car, which drew attention to him. A good Samaritan from an entirely different town, a tourist, put the puzzle together and put the guy in a headlock until the authorities arrived. Not really recent, but the owner of the petting zoo turned out to be a serial murderer and buried 2 corpses under the goat enclosure. A lot of kids volunteered there and walked over them unknowingly. He murdered the couple and used their house, car and money. Edit. He murdered more people before this couple, that's why I called him a serial killer. My small town includes a pretty large zoo and a tapir has recently escaped and is still at large. Drama class was interrupted by a cow giving birth in the field across from the school. The school gym teacher was fired after being caught masturbating in the equipment room. He was caught by 2 students. A few days later he killed himself. Everyone is a bit shaken up about it. It's more of a village, but turns out the now 90 years old teacher that everyone had as a teacher wasn't just really forgetful. Turns out she was in a car crash and got short-term memory loss. A local police department likes to post wanted pictures on its Facebook page. The other day, I saw one of their wanted postings of some woman who is allegedly evading police for drug charges and intends to distribute. The suspect herself commented on the post and said, "I'm not evading. I'm not on the run. I've been out of town. And when I come back I'm turning myself in." Maybe not a scandal, but I thought that was pretty funny. A pigeon got caught in the supermarket and it made front page of local news website with live updates. A couple months ago someone left their fire pit in their driveway for a few days. They received a mailed letter from an anonymous neighbor shaming them for making the neighborhood look bad. The recipient then posted the letter on the town's Facebook page. People ran with it and created the first annual front yard fire night. Somebody in town has a bunch of mannequins in their front yard. Town wanted to decommission the airport. The people did not. The people won. There are no scandals in my town. The town authorities cover everything up. There is no war in Ba Sing Se. A substitute teacher at the high school started smoking a joint in class in front of students. Edit. Apparently it was some kind of weed pen. Terrible heroin epidemic. Brother's best friend who was fairly close to our family overdosed a few days ago. My brother only has maybe 2 childhood friends left because of this. The town went with the lowest bidder for a big roadwork contract. And it turns out they were totally unqualified for the job and were messing stuff up. So the town fired them and hired the second lowest bidder. Same thing. They're on their 3rd contract now, and the project, which was supposed to be done this summer, will hopefully be finished sometime next year. Hopefully they finish in time for the Piston Cup. Our city council just voted to give themselves a 103% raise. Edit. For reference, the pay is low mid 20k currently. The raise puts the pay at 52k. The support is that more people will be able to get into office with the higher pay. And wages were stagnant from many years ago. So instead of the gradual pay increase over those years with cost of living, it's been adjusted to the current market today, resulting in a significant jump. The overall trend from opposers is that they were blindsided and didn't get to vote on it like the last mayor said should happen. We don't know who, but someone has been going around egging random cars and throwing full water bottles at people's windshields. Our newly elected mayor, who is a school teacher as well, caused a head-on car crash injuring 2 small children and the other car. She was found to be drunk and it was 3:30 PM on a weekday. The kicker: she wasn't charged with a crime, as of yet, but she did resign after considerable thought. Edit. Our town's more medium than small, but whatever. A month or so ago a couple high school gangs got into a huge mosh pit fight. About 6 months or so ago a college student got arrested for beheading his mother. Well, that escalated. Gang fights. Alright. Nothing surprising. Beheading. My grandparents' small town has had a recent outbreak of teenagers riding horses through the middle of downtown while wearing nothing but face masks. It has happened a total of 3 times now. Always different kids. Always different horses. A vacant house exploded and no one is sure what caused it. To quote you, Ajian Absinthe. Meth. But that's nothing new. I left my small town years ago, but I was home over Thanksgiving and got an earful. The local grocery store was renovated, expanded after 30 years, and now everything's moved and you can't find nothing. I was home for 4 days and literally every new social interaction with people in town involved the goddamn grocery store and how awful it is now. Spoiler. It actually looks quite nice and they hang signs over the aisles telling you where things are. You know. Like a grocery store. Local middle school teacher is suspected in human trafficking. Our local brewery is shutting down and many loyal patrons are feeling lost. The guy that's been trolling our town's community Facebook page finally got banned. We have a tourist train. Runs from town A to town B. It was a particularly dry summer and the train started a fire that spread over 75,000 acres. The town is now suing the train station for loss of income, as we are a tourist town and our income is solely based off of tourism. And no one wants to go tour a smoky town in Colorado. I'm not sure of the exact number, but I think it's in the ballpark of tens of millions of dollars. The scandal in my town is always the same. Someone is sleeping with someone else's husband. Or the 50-year-old dating the 18-year-old. I grew up in a small town. It always amazed me the number of men who were dating their daughter's best friend. Well, the latest scandal is that the local amphibians experts are too busy to look at our village pond this year. We only want to make sure we make it good for the wildlife. I have a degree in zoology and a minor in chem. Head on down to a pool supply place and buy our water testing kit. That will tell you a good chunk of information. If you send me pictures, I'll give you a free look-see and tell you if it's cool or not. There even might be a subreddit where you can find out where the water pH and stuff should be for proper amphibian keeping. Edit. Thank you for the silvers. The only reason I know to use pool test strips is because my buddy is a huge terrarium person and has all sorts of reptiles and amphibians. It's not as comprehensive as sending water samples to a lab, but it gives you the basic general info you will need. They have some that are pretty comprehensive and test calcium hardness and other stuff. Meth. But that's nothing new. Edit. The responses of "it must be my state" is kinda alarming. Someone posted some kind of dynamite into a mailbox and it blew up. 5 years later they don't know who it is. Probably just teenagers being stupid. A teacher posted a link to a PRN site on his website for classwork instead of the recent assignment and got fired immediately. Apparently this wasn't his first offense. Edit. Holy cannoli, this blew up. Not really a scandal per se, but a man in my hometown beat up a bobcat that tried to attack his dog. Somebody's been murdering horses and PD is blaming wild boars. But at least a couple of the horses were shot, so well, if you could keep guns off the street, maybe all these boars wouldn't be packing. Girlfriend works in a nursery in a medium-sized town. A knife-wielding intruder broke into the nursery and they had the entire building on lockdown. Thankfully nobody was hurt and the man was quickly apprehended. Didn't actually enter the building. He was spotted nearby. The nursery was still on lockdown and all the staff and children had to be evacuated to a safe room. I'm a landscaper, and for a decent amount of time my brain didn't connect nursery with children. In 2017, we had some kid going around to random porches and lighting bags of his own poop on fire. He never got caught. Nothing really. Other than a few porch pirates. Someone did shoot at one of them. But no one was injured at least. Since then it stopped for now. There's no police station in town and the nearest one is a half-hour drive, so sometimes we have to take matters into our own hands. Someone did shoot at one of them. Since then it stopped for now. You don't say. Man on a 3-wheel bike shot at police and then ended up evading an entire town's police force via Uber. Someone keeps throwing slices of cheese on cars in the next town over. The neighborhood Facebook page is in an uproar. Our townspeople are being vigilant that they don't bring their area to our town. Bit of a rivalry between towns. Ours is your typical suburbia. Theirs is more rural and the people are referred to as pineys. I follow it all for amusement. 2 cousins just got married. The families all knew when they started dating and didn't say a word until they were in a committed relationship. They went ahead with it. Wasn't even very distant. A high school girl was murdered in her garage over the summer because her boyfriend didn't want her to leave him for college. Huge scandal. And his family still lives in town. A local asshole has been taking people's money to do house repairs and not doing the work. Did it to an elderly lady in her 80s whose daughter is my mom's friend. The daughter has been telling everyone, and now the asshole wants to sue her for defamation. By telling the truth. Guy's as bad as his dad, who ran for mayor and lost badly because nobody liked him and was caught telling lies. Better than last year's scandal, someone was breaking into seasonal homes and was eventually caught with the stuff. Drugs. And firearms. Woman stole money from school. They just trusted her. She lives right next to me. Her kids still go to school there and the girl was always very quiet. Has only said like 3 words to me and I've known her for about 2 years. The mother is away right now so the kids are left with their grandparents, whom we're also neighbors with. They have like 12 dogs and they're constantly on our property. They chase our cows and killed our kittens. So we don't have cats anymore. They, the neighbors, said that if we get a dog and it goes onto their land, they'll shoot it. So yeah. Basically a situation for the kids and everyone else involved. Someone stole a farmer's sheep yards and used them to make goat yards on another farmer's property, but then they were disturbed and the goats all escaped and no one knows who did it. The mayor died and his dog is now in a shelter because his son won't take care of it. Doesn't the dog automatically finish out the remainder of the mayor's term? People been arguing about whether or not it's fair to reserve spots by setting up chairs along the side of the road the day before the Christmas horse parade. A local dude got sent to a maximum security prison for breaking into his own house. Granted, it was condemned and that was his fault because drugs. But still. Dude needed a place to sleep. It was like 10 degrees. He needed to be taken into custody, but rehab would have been a better place for him. It was his 2nd or 3rd brush with local cops, so they went pretty hard on him. His whole life has been one show after another and IDK if anyone could help him at this point, but it just doesn't seem humane to send a guy to the pen for needing a warm place to sleep. If you were one of 12 people that watched the Netflix show The Society, you may have noticed a gazebo. Or not. That gazebo was gifted to our town by Netflix after shooting Wrapped. The fight over whether we should keep it on the town green or move it was epic on Facebook. It ended up getting shifted 12 feet so as not to impede the view of the old church from the old town hall. Some frequent at a smoothie shop didn't pay. She said she'll be back and went across the street to her workplace. She never came back to pay. So the shop called the work to be like, yo. So she had to do the walk of shame back to the smoothie place. Got heated on Facebook. The shop had to show security footage. The city council quietly approved a 100-year-old landmark tree in the city to be cut down for a building to be placed on top of it. Front page news. And it came out that the tree was diseased and dying anyway. Front page news. Conspiracy? We need to go deeper. I don't live there anymore. But my hometown recently voted to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages within the city limits. I'll toast to that. Edit. This got way more upvotes than I ever anticipated. I'll drink to that. Edit 2. I've answered where it was multiple times. It's in Mississippi. A married resource officer, a cop that's at the school all day, messed around with a married teacher. Both had kids. The teacher was fired. And the cop was pulled off of that duty. Nothing that interesting in its own. But it's been the talk of the town for about a month. This is the same town where everyone stares at you if they don't recognize you. Dealt with that the first 2-3 years I lived here. Just constantine stare-downs lol. Population is less than 700. I hate small towns. Edit. The biggest that I know of was a bully and overall bad guy from school that I sat next to in art class and tried to help in. It was arrested for murdering a 20-year-old girl during a drug deal. He was going to buy weed off her but decided to shoot her. Later stating he wanted to know what it felt like to kill somebody. She didn't die right away either. He and a buddy of his, drove around for 2 hours in her car while she slowly suffered. And if they had taken her to a hospital she would have likely lived. He was 17 at the time. I believe. Was a couple years ago. But not much really happens here. Thankfully. Our lawyer blew up his resident's business with a meth lab. Edit just for small town jokes. An 18-year-old girl killed her mother. Chopped her up in pieces and then put her body parts in different dumpsters around town. Our whole police force, 3, were arrested for murder. There even was a 60-minute segment on it. We had an Aryan Circle gang member hiding in a trailer in an RV park. He was served an eviction notice and when he refused to leave the sheriff was involved and they learned he had warrants. The SWAT team ripped out the side of the trailer to get at him and he wasn't even inside. They found him in the woods a short while later. My dog keeps opening the gate latch, which releases my goats. They are eating people's trash and making a mess. Neighbors aren't happy with me. I live outside the town limits. But recently some people got mad that the mayor was gonna replace the 4-way with a roundabout when all they wanted was a traffic light. A fake. They just put a turning lane on the road going north-south. We think our prized manatee was killed instead of accidentally drowning. Edit. Prized manatee. This happened years ago but it's good. Bill, longtime and beloved mayor, announced he was done. And even if winning from write-ins he would decline. Jim, a local business owner, is the only one who runs for mayor. Jim isn't well liked. His employees often speed and don't stop at stop signs. No lights in this town. Well, come election day Jim wins by a small margin against Bill's write-ins. Jim's first order of business is to revamp the budget. He suggested to fire the one police officer and sell all related equipment. Less than a month after his wish is granted, Jim resigns as mayor. He allegedly, from mouthing off at an illegal bar in town, wanted the cop gone because his guys kept getting tickets. Bill then takes over for another term. The sister of a girl who died in a drunk driving accident several years ago was arrested for underage drinking and it made the local news. The sick crime of the week in our newspaper was someone stealing towels from the Best Western. In my town, there's been a lot of shoplifting in the last month. Shop owners are on high alert. The timing of it coincides with an old man that's been dressing up as Santa visiting the stores and ringing a bell for donations on the corner. I don't think he has a real job. He just does this all day every day. Nobody's ever seen him before this and we're not sure if he lives around here. Someone died and left their peacock to a family member. Said family member doesn't really want it and lets it roam. It has been terrorizing the village ever since. Our village treasurer embezzled funds from the water department and used the money to buy lottery tickets from the gas station across the street. After being audited by the state, it came to about $500,000 that she had stolen over time and used to buy the scratch-off tickets. Local college employee invited a homeless man to dinner and the homeless man took out an axe and murdered the Samaritan. Gory details. Exclamation point. Axe murderer dismembered the body and put it in coolers. There was no motive. I found the town butcher drunk and passed out on the side of the road last weekend while I was walking my dogs at 3 AM. Not really a scandal, but it was funny. Edit. I walk my dogs at 3 AM sometimes cause I work in a town 30 kilometers away and finish often around 2:003:30. A kid who committed suicide in our school bathroom last year's mom just recently killed herself a year later. Middle schoolers posting each other's nudes. Someone's been scattering some kind of rat poison or similar pellets across the grounds of public dog parks or areas that are known to have pets roaming, with owners. Since dog owners have protected their dogs from said poison, you could see powder or pellets scattered. It instead poisoned all the kangaroos in the area. Just for context, you don't typically see kangaroos roaming in broad daylight. They like to stay away from the human life as much as possible and they roam in tall grass or woodlands. At night they come out to the open parks and pastures to graze and chill. After the dog park poisoning attacks, we were finding dead roos and wallabies laid out in groups. Their skin under their fur had turned a slight purple-blue hue. The persons responsible for the poisoning, which happened repeatedly over a period of 2 months, were never found. The council instead just had to close the parks altogether until they were deemed safe to reopen. They would close and reopen several times due to contamination fears. I live in a suburb of Chicago. That's like a small town. My bartender is tied up in a legal battle with her brother. It came as a shock to everyone because her brother is deaf and she took care of him. They were thick as thieves. Their dad died and the brother did a 180 and sued my bartender for stealing his inheritance. My bartender is heartbroken and everyone is shocked. He's a good kid. Very quiet and hardworking. Something overcame him and made him turn against his sister. No one can figure out how his brother found a lawyer by himself or thought to sue her in the first place. He won't talk about it with anyone. He's just angry at everyone now. My bartender thinks that his wife is controlling him because she wants the money. It's a mystery. Another scandal: a regular at our bar was found dead at his own home. No one knows how he died. Some think that he was murdered. There's a lot of theories. Not just my town, but Casey's, a convenience store chain that's popular in Iowa, won't be accepting pizza box coupons anymore starting early next year, for the time being. You can bring in 10 coupons to get an 11th pizza free. Lot of Iowans are red about it. As a current Casey's employee, I hope not to be working there anymore when the deadline arrives. A judge has been messaging someone. She asked for money while saying she was going to tell his family what had been going on. He turned her in and she was arrested for extortion. This all came out after he abruptly retired and called a mistrial for the cases he heard evidence from. Been a couple months, but longtime kinda teacher made her student eat their fesses. And the damn town is divided with excuses like he must have deserved it or he wanted to, because how can someone make you eat? How can there be two sides in this? One of our local police officers got arrested for stealing a car. Apparently he was drunk when coming out of the bar. Got in the wrong car. Drove off somewhere. Then passed out in an alley. He got let go from the police force. Yay. Wisconsin. A group of guys ages 30-40 years old got us arrested for solicitation of a 16-year-old girl. This will never be seen by enough people. But a group of teachers in my hometown had a group chat that got discovered, recorded and distributed to everyone, and it shows them being racist. Kid was found dead in a pond on a cop's property. No evidence of foul play and no drugs in his system. The latter of which everyone knows is BS. So the story is no longer credible in the eyes of the general public. I don't live there anymore. Had to escape to the city, but one of my little sisters, let's call her Ollie, has recently 1. Stiffed one of her friends on a $90 K loan to repair their home, telling them that she has to take care of her family first and they'll never see the money. 2. Filed for bankruptcy and told the judge that one of my other sisters is who pays for the private school for Ollie's little boy. This is a complete lie. Also said private school is a complete show and the kids that come out of it are spoiled little s who are about 2 to 3 years behind kids in the local public school academically speaking. 3. Been gossiping about a ton of folks. She owns a well-known business and folks are starting to avoid going there. Arlie doesn't know why business is suddenly dropping off. So it's not just small town drama. It's also family drama.